Hello, my name is Martinez-McGraw. This is my EDL853 Module 1 about inclusive in schools. Oh, sorry. Hello guys. About me. I'm a special education teacher here at Paragon Learning Center. We are an online alternative high school located in Pueblo, Colorado. We're about an hour and a half south of Denver. I've been here for 8 years now. I coach baseball and softball. I got my bachelor's degree from Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee. It was in psychology. My master's degree is from Colorado State University, Pueblo. That's a master's in special education. I played baseball throughout college. I am married with 2 boys. I did not put that part, but that is a little bit about me. So, here's a quote I found. Really liked it. It says, "We will know that inclusive education has really become embedded in our culture when the term becomes obsolete." So until we don't have to think about inclusiveness and everything being inclusive, that's when we know that education has it in it. So inclusive education is typically focused on special education to ensure that children with disabilities will have supports they need to learn and grow while including them in regular classroom settings. In recent years, however, the understanding of inclusive education has expanded to encompass a broader definition that commits to addressing all forms of exclusion and marginalization, disparities, and inequalities in access, participation, and learning outcomes. Forms of social inclusion and marginalization that directly affect participation and learning outcomes include restrictive responses to diversity in race, social class, ethnicity, geographic location, residential status, religion, gender, and ability. So some information on inclusion. Inclusion in education has traditionally meant making sure students with disabilities are integrated into general education classrooms to the greatest possible extent. It was a big deal and big change when the country implemented the Education for All Handicapped Children Act of 1975. Inclusion is built on the premise that all students should be valued at their unique abilities and included as essential members of the school community. Oh, sorry guys. Inclusion is not a place, it is a way of thinking. Moving some students from special education settings to general education settings is merely a first step to ensuring supported and successful inclusion for all. As a special education teacher, I see this a lot, especially at an alternative high school. We at times have been our dumping ground for our school district, to where if they are done with the student or no longer feel like they need to support them, they go ahead and just actually send them to us. So it's kind of frustrating at times. Not that it's always best or worse for the student, but we have seen that, especially here in our school. So inclusion in some schools. Some issues that students are often discriminated against are include disability, race, gender, and their household income, or the language they speak. Inclusive education aims to combat discrimination against all students. Our town that I live in is very heavily Hispanic populated, as I am one also. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but we see this a lot to where, we have a lot of students that are our primary language are Spanish. So, we do have to, find out how to communicate with the family, because oftentimes many of the parents are from, Mexico or Central America or something like that. Perhaps the most critical role in successful inclusive schools is the role of the principal. Our principal and assistant principal do a great job at allowing students to have all equal chances in school. The principal is central to facilitating systemic change and leading faculty to adopt new attitudes and practices. So that's actually not an issue at our school. We actually have a good climate and good culture here instilled. Original inclusion in schools refer to students with disabilities. You might have also heard the term mainstreaming. The idea that students receiving special education services be given the chance to learn with their peers in general classrooms instead of being segregated into separate programs. So I like this part, the 10 reasons all children have equal access to education. All children learn alongside some same age peers. The focus of education is on child's abilities, not disabilities. Children become accepting and understanding of another's abilities, talents, personalities, and needs. Meaningful relationships and friends develop as students spend quality time with one another. Students develop confidence in their ability to interact with one another and the world around them. Teachers in inclusive schools are highly trained and skilled at delivering appropriate student-centered curriculum through differentiated activities according to ability level. In addition to classroom teachers, student and disabilities are supported by special education teachers, parapros, and specialists such as speech-language path, OTPTs, so on and so forth. Various resources and assistive technologies are available to students in inclusive schools in an effort to reach and teach all learners. And inclusive schools value input and participation from the whole community, not just students. Everyone is welcome. Some things I did think about is, especially here, a lot of schools are in neighborhoods, so having community impact, whether that's, the parks look nice, the kind of students that are, hanging around the schools, those affect the neighborhood around. So community involvement is very crucial, and they highly need to be included in a lot of decision making and things like that. So inclusion. In an exclusionary setting, teachers and other staff remain isolated from each other. They work independently and don't share information and experiences. When they begin to share responsibility for all students, teachers collaborate. This school environment is an inclusive school, supports teachers spending time together, developing lesson plans, co-teaching, sharing resources. We definitely want the latter there, not the previous part. Some education, inclusive education values diversity and unique contributions of each student brings to the classroom. In a truly inclusive setting, every child feels safe and has a sense of belonging. Some leadership. This is kind of a checklist that was on one of the resources used, so pretty sweet option. I really like this part. I'm not going to read it word for word, but you guys could kind of see it. And that shows pretty good leadership. It's kind of a checklist. Concluding thoughts. So some of the correlation. This assignment demonstrated correlation to the standard by having us understand and demonstrate the capacity to use data to evaluate, design, cultivate, and advocate for supportive and inclusive school culture. It has taught us how to be inclusive of each student and adult through various initiatives and strategies to promote a positive school culture with everyone feeling included. We now understand how to be more inclusive and equitable. Relevancy. This assignment was relevant to my current learning because at the school I teach, we're 80% minority. 90% of our student population is considered at risk being an alternative high school. The resources provided were very helpful, helped me understand how to approach school culture and be inclusive of others. Our administration is very inclusive and allows other students to have equal opportunities. Our community is much involved as we have a heavily minority population in our city, like I've mentioned earlier. Personal reflection assignment helped me become a future leader because I am now more mindful and aware of the impact my decisions have on the student, staff, and community, and it is important for me to make sure everyone is included and attentive to any decisions that are made with regards to the school, especially that the community is involved in. Not everything will be perfect as a building administrator, but this has helped me tremendously. This was a very valuable lesson and assignment, and these resources were very helpful. So some of my reference, I did divide them amongst 2 pages because they didn't fit into 1 page, but thank you guys for listening to my presentation. I look forward to joining this class and continuing this work through this next month. Thank you guys.